Hello, my name is Jadwiga and I'm a librarian from Sterling Heights Public Library. Today I would like to take you for the journey through centuries with recommendations of the book titles from historical fiction. All titles that I'm going to talk about are available right now from our digital collection through Libby, Hoopla and RB Digital. And once we go back to the library, you can also get them in printed version. We will start our journey in 9th century with the book series written by Bernard Cornwell. This author wrote few historical fiction series, but the one that I would like to recommend today is called The Saxon Stories or The Last Kingdom. And it tells the story of making England in the 9th and 10th century. If you like Viking stories, if you like reading about invasion and occupation of England kingdoms, stories about Alfred the Great, him and his descendants fighting and defeating Danish Vikings, this series is for you. I started reading it just recently with the first book entitled The Last Kingdom, and I really like it. So far there were published 12 books and the 13th is expected in October of this year. Now we will stay in England, but we will jump a few years ahead to 15th century, to the time of War of Roses, Plantagenets, and Tudors. The author that I would like to recommend to you is Philippa Gregory and her Plantagenet and Tudors novels. Here is the chronological order of the book based on real chronology of events and historical figures. And I would suggest to start with the first book, The Lady of the Rivers. The plot of first few books of the series tells us the story of War of Roses, which was basically a series of civil wars for English throne between two rival branches of royal house of Plantagenet. House of Lancaster, that was represented with red rose, and House of York, that was represented with white rose. That's why it was called War of Roses. And then the next few books take us through the reign of Tudors. What is really interesting in this series, every one of the book is centered around the female character or few female characters. For example, Elizabeth Woodville, Anne Neville, Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, Mary Queen of Scots, and many more. We see the events through basically their eyes. We see their emotions, the decisions that they had to make, the role that they played in their times. This is very good series. I really enjoyed reading it. With the next book series, we will travel to 20th century England, starting right before First World War and through the books going to Second World War. The first book of this series is entitled Maisie Dobbs, and that is also the title of the whole series. It is written by Jacqueline Winspear. It is also a mystery series, since the main character is also a private investigator. So far, we have 15 books that were published in this series. The next book that I would like to recommend is entitled The Aviator's Wife by Melanie Benjamin. And it tells the story of marriage of famous American couple, Charles Lindbergh and Anne Morrow Lindbergh. Very good book. The author of the next book, Lisa Wingate, based her novel on a real scandal that actually happened in Tennessee between 1920s and 1950. And it is connected to Georgia Tann and her Tennessee Children's Home Society that was used for child trafficking. This book is entitled Before We Were Yours. The novel tells the story of a kidnapping and selling children from poor families to wealthy families all over the country. Definitely this one is very emotional reading. This month, Lisa Wingate published her new book, The Book of Lost Friends. It is another historical fiction and I'm looking forward to reading this one. Now I would like to tell you about few titles that are set during the Second World War time period. I will start with Lilac Girls by Martha Hall Kelly. It tells the story of three women whose life is connected in different ways to horrible events that happened in Ravensbrück, that was a Nazi concentration camp for women. The second book from that period of time is The Commandant's Girl by Pamienov. It was her debut and I think it is a very good one. The novel is set in occupied by Nazi Poland, to be exact in Krakow. If you like this book, Jenov wrote few more historical novels, so then you can explore more of her works. The last recommendation for today is the book written by Jessica Shattuck entitled Women in the Castle. With this novel, we will travel to Bavarian Castle and get to know the story of three widows. They are widows to resistors who were murdered in the failed July 20, 1944 plot to assassinate Hitler. Those are all recommendations that I have for you today. I hope that you will find some of those titles interesting and worth reading. Take care.